Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today our topic is Escherichia coli, that is also known as E. coli. In this video we will discuss some general characteristics, pathogenesis and lab diagnosis of E. coli. So here we have some general characteristics of E. coli. As we know that E. coli, it is a member of Enterobacteriaceae family. So all the members of the Enterobacteriaceae family are gram-negative rods, like this gram-negative rods. Second character is these are aerobes and facultative anaerobes. Third, we have the optimum temperature for growth for the E. coli is about 36 to 37 degrees Celsius. Next we have these are motile by peritrichous flagella. And what is peritrichous flagella? It means the flagella are separate all over the surface of the body like this. Next we have as we know, these are motile, but most of the strains are non-motile. In later we will discuss all the strains of the E. coli. Last we have they ferment the lactose, and basically this is the distinguished property from the other two major intestinal pathogens, that are the Salmonella and Shigella. Salmonella and Shigella does not ferment the lactose, but the E. coli will ferment the lactose. And these are all the general characteristics of E. coli. We have some other characteristics, but these are the important characteristics of E. coli. Yes, these are the gram-negative rods, these are aerobes and facultative anaerobes. Optimum temperature for growth is 36 to 37 degrees Celsius. These are motile, some strains are non-motile, and this ferments the lactose. Next we have the pathogenesis of E. coli. In the pathogenesis we will discuss the mode of transmission and the virulence factors of E. coli. So let's discuss one by one. First we have the mode of transmission. As we know that the humans and the animals both are the reservoirs of the E. coli, and they are transmitted by fecal oral route, maybe due to the contamination of food, contamination of water, or milk or dairy products. When it ascends from the urethra, it will cause the urinary tract infection. When it acquired during the birth, it will cause the neonatal meningitis. It will also cause the bacteremia, infection of the wounds, sepsis, hemolytic uremic syndrome, and also cause the diarrheal diseases. As we know that the E. coli is a part of our normal microbial flora. So most of the strains of the E. coli have the beneficial functions. It means they prevent the establishment of the harmful bacteria in our intestine. But in other hand, we have some pathogenic strains of the E. coli. It means these strains will cause the disease. And we have some different strains of the E. coli that are pathogenic. And in the diarrheal diseases, these strains are associated. So here we have the pathogenic E. coli strains. We categorize into two categories. Either they may be the non-invasive or may be the invasive. In the non-invasive, they are toxigenic. And in the toxigenic, we have the enterotoxigenic E. coli. And it will produce the two type of toxins, that are heat labile toxin or the heat stable toxin. On the other hand, we have the invasive E. coli strains that are maybe non-toxigenic or the toxigenic. If they are the non-toxigenic, we have the enteropathogenic E. coli or the enteroinvasive E. coli. And if they are the toxigenic, we have the enterohemergic E. coli, that are basically the Shiga-like toxin or also called as the virotoxin. And these are basically the E. coli strains that will cause some mild degree of bloody diarrhea. In the next we have the virulence factor. E. coli will produce the two types of virulence factors. First we have the surface antigen, second we have the toxins, and these toxins are produced by most of the strains of the E. coli. Next we have the surface antigen. E. coli has three types of surface antigen. First we have the somatic O antigen, second we have flagellar H antigen, and the third we have the capsular K antigen. That is basically the antigenic structure. In red we have the somatic O antigen, in green we have the flagellar H antigen, or in black we have the capsular K antigen. So here is all about the pathogenesis of E. coli. In the last, we have the lab diagnosis of E. coli. In lab diagnosis, we will discuss specimen, microscopy, culture, and some biochemical test of E. coli. So let's discuss one by one. First, we have the specimen. The sample collection depends on basically the site of the ligands. For the urinary tract infection, we will take the sample of urine. For the diarrhea, we will take the sample of feces and the rectal swab. For the infection of wounds, we will take the sample of pus. And for the pyogenic meningitis, we will take the sample of CSF. In the next, we have the microscopy. After staining in a microscope, we will see the E. coli are the gram-negative rods, and these are non-spore forming. Next we have the culture. For the inoculation of the E. coli, we will use the different differential media, and these differential media are maybe the blood agar, eosin methylene blue agar, Cludd agar, or McConkey agar. On the blood agar, E. coli will produce the mucoid non-hemolytic or creamy white colonies. On eosin methylene blue agar, it will produce the green metallic sheen colonies. On the Cludd agar, it will produce the yellow colonies. And in the last, as it is a lactose fermenter, so it will produce the pink color colonies. In the last, we have some biochemical test for the E. coli. As we know that it is a member of the Enterobacteriaceae family. So all the members of the Enterobacteriaceae family are catalase positive, while oxidase negative. Only the Pseudomonas is oxidase positive, while the other members are oxidase negative. So the further test for the E. coli strains we will perform that are indole test, methyl red test, Voges-Prosker test, and citrate test. And from this sentence you can easily remember IM-VIC series, or 2 positive 2 negative. From I we have the indole test, that is basically the positive for the E. coli, and in this test the bacteria has the ability to break down the amino acid tryptophan with the release of the indoles, so it will be positive. Next we have the methyl red test, that is also positive. It means that the bacteria has the ability to ferment the glucose, and when it will ferment the glucose, color will be changed and the pH will be low. Next we have the Voges-Prosker test, that is negative. That is occasionally used for the differentiation of the Enterobacteriaceae family. In the last we have the citrate test, that is negative. This means the bacteria has the ability to use the citrate as a source of carbon. So here we have some tests. Indole test, that is positive. Methyl red test, that is also positive. Voges-Prosker test, that is negative. And the citrate test, that is also negative. So here is all about the Escherichia coli or the E. coli. In this video we have discussed some general characteristics, pathogenesis, and the lab diagnosis of E. coli. So this is basically the short description of about the E. coli. If you like this video, so please don't forget to subscribe and share our channel. Thank you and take care.